What's going on, AIM
Yes,
Squad?
welcome back. Week 14 of football. Thursday's past, Sunday's coming up.
That's it.
But let's recap what happened on Thursday.
It was a good game on Thursday.
It was actually a really good game.
It was the Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
Visiting Detroit Lions.
Ooh, big division game.
Big divisional game. Big redemption game because Detroit, though they won on Thanksgiving Thursday Night Football, they did not cover, and Chicago almost came back for the win.
Yeah. And this game almost too. They were having, they were leading the first half. They were playing really good.
Yeah.
And then Green Bay found out their schemes on where they were running to. Stopped them down and cut a lot of fourth downs, made them punt the football. And Green Bay got back into the game, and it was a scare. Green Bay almost had the win there.
They did. They 100% did. So let's get more detailed into it.
Let's go.
Coming into Thursday, Ulner and I were Ulner was 9-6.
Yep.
I was 4-11, so got the Thursday curse.
Yeah.
But as we talked about, Green Bay and Detroit. Now we both called Detroit -3.
Yes.
And
we could have called either or.
I mean, we could have called either or.
But
luckily we pushed.
Yes.
Because that was a solid line by Vegas. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
It was 3 exactly.
Well, they moved it right after it the next day at 4.5. So whoever missed it on Wednesday night, or whoever missed it Wednesday during the day and then waited till Thursday to place your bets, so you're trying to find a good spread,
You'd have lost.
If you took Detroit -3.5, that would have been a tough loss for you there.
At least we got the push.
We got the early push.
So hopefully
the
AIM Squad that rode with us, booked it when you guys did. You guys at least got your money back. Detroit -3.
There we go. Solidified that division, saying, hey, we are the owners of the NFC North. We run you guys, even though you guys have a higher record.
Yep.
Detroit Lions, we're going to the Super Bowl. That's what they're telling everybody, the whole NFL. Keep an eye out on us.
Potential MVP conversation.
Correct.
Jared Goff. And I think generally with the -3, I think this was a good redemption game.
It was.
I know they only won by -3. I wasn't expecting them to blow out the Green Bay Packers. But I think for them to win, push/cover.
Yes.
I think it was a good redemption game.
It was a really good game. But, they got the win. We got the push.
Yep.
We're not going to argue with that.
We'll take it.
A push is better than a loss, which now leads us to our records. Myself, Ulner, I'm 9-6-1. My brother here is 4-11-1. And Thursday's behind us.
Let's go.
Let's get into Sunday, where all the action happens on Sunday.
But before we wrap up Thursday,
yes, I forgot.
We do have to talk about our anytime touchdowns, our lays, and our fantasies.
Let's get right into it. Anytime touchdown. We believe Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to get a touchdown.
Yeah.
We thought Goff was going to start throwing the football. He did throw the football, just not the target that we picked.
Yeah, he picked up, 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, almost 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He threw 1 to Gibbs and then 2 to Patrick.
Yep.
And Patrick was 5th on the depth chart, and all of a sudden he decided out of nowhere to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
but
he was on a heater, but yeah.
That's fine. It is what it is. Amon-Ra St. Brown did not get a touchdown, so our training bet for Thursday did not hit.
No.
Which now leads us to our 3-leg parlay.
Yeah.
Where we had 3 good legs.
We actually had 3 solid legs.
Real solid legs. We were really confident in it, which you also heard just now earlier. Goff threw for 3 touchdowns. We had him to throw for 2.
So that hit.
That was hit beautifully. Then we had Tucker Kraft over 30 receiving yards. That guy was the only person that Jordan Love could find, and that was open. And he also missed him that touchdown early, too.
He did.
Where it could have changed the whole football game.
Could have potentially won the game.
Yeah, Jacobs got the touchdown after, but that's okay. And then
also hit.
That also hit. And then we were down to our third one, where we were sitting here since second quarter and be like, come on, get at least 1 catch. Reed was targeted once the whole game, 0 catches.
He is their wide receiver 1.
I don't understand where Detroit played, I guess, exceptional defense on him, sure, but Jordan Love could not find his number 1 target.
Yeah, they locked him down.
He scored 2 touchdowns against Miami in Thanksgiving, and then against a division game where you're supposed to show out, you were nowhere to be found.
That was a loss, unfortunately.
And I don't think he saw the field a lot. He only had 1 target. That broke our parlay. We took the loss there. 2 out of 3.
It's not too bad, but we called the 2 tough legs, but the one that we thought was a gimme was
a gimme. At least didn't happen. But hey, that's the life of just
sports betting, right?
Exactly. Sports betting at its finest. Always 1 leg, but it's okay. We're gonna move on, and we're gonna go right into fantasy.
All right.
Where we had 6 players.
Yep.
We tried to pick the best player from each position on each team, who was gonna be the overall best. To remind everybody, our lineup was Jared Goff as quarterback, Montgomery as running back, wide receiver St. Brown, Kraft as the tight end, Lions defense, McManus kicker. Irshad, tell him how we did.
So honestly, Jared Goff, we hit. He was the best quarterback between the 2. Easy. Montgomery, he did pick up a touchdown. He did get some, but actually he was not the best running back.
Jacobs
definitely stole the show.
Yeah.
He took it all. Wide receiver, Amon-Ra. once again, wide receiver 1 for Detroit. Didn't get a lot of the presence there. It was fifth on the depth chart?
Yeah.
It was running on a bit of a hot hand, so unfortunately we didn't call that. To be honest, we didn't see it coming, so we missed that too. But we made it back with Kraft picking up the best tight end record in the game. Lions defense, obviously slightly better. That was great. And then McManus as the kicker. Unfortunately, he didn't perform as well as we thought he would. Luckily, though, we finished at 50%, so that was our base. That was our floor. We hit it. Yes. But as we keep going, we move on past Thursday.
Yes.
And we're rolling right into Sunday.
Woo.
So, Sunday night football, week 14. Let's get into our incoming records. So, Ulner, you're 14, 22, and 3.
Yep.
I'm 18, 18, and 3.
All right.
And we have our 3 game of the weeks. For those who were listening last week, we definitely shared these 3 games.
Yeah.
And we finally, sat on them, finalized them, and ready to lock and load.
Well, let's get it started.
So, first game, Ulner, I'll throw it to you first. We have the Atlanta Falcons versus the Minnesota Vikings, where Minnesota is favored -6. What is your take? What is your call? Why? Let the people know.
This is a big game here. You have Minnesota coming in here who can get a win and have a chance to secure a playoff spot. But then you also have the Atlanta Falcons, who lead the division, who are tied for the division, against Tampa Bay, who also need this win. If they get this win, chances of playoffs are higher for them.
Yeah.
But let's not forget who the quarterback is. We have Kirk Cousins, who is coming back to Minnesota, who went and signed with the Atlanta Falcons to say, hey, I have a better opportunity winning with Atlanta than I had with Minnesota. So obviously this is a revenge game for Kirk Cousins. And when Kirk Cousins plays, you never know what Kirk Cousins you get. You can either get the best version of Kirk Cousins or the Kirk Cousins that does not know how to throw the football. Aside from it, too, Cousins doesn't really play well as an underdog. Yeah. He's 3-9 against the spread since 2022. The 4th worst mark of any quarterback in that span. 4th worst. Cousins just does not know how to play. But yet again, this is a revenge game.
Yep.
Let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, this is a revenge game. But in the last 20 years, Kirk Cousins, he's 87, 73, and 1 on the over.
Yep.
In the past, in the 20 years, 7th best mark, which means Kirk Cousins knows how to score the football.
He knows.
He knows how to get his team into a winning position.
Yep.
It also just depends on some mistakes where he throws the football away, doesn't read the route correctly, or the team that he plays for, the defense decides, hey, you know what, we're not going to support Kirk Cousins, we'll lose the game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's an indoor game. It's a big game. The NFC North is just lethal. When the NFC North comes out, which I'm leaning towards the Minnesota Vikings, they are 52-30 and 3 against the spread. So 63% of the time they cover when they are facing a non-divisional opponent. This year, they are 24-12 against the spread, 67% against the spread when they play a non-divisional.
Yeah.
So right now, you're leaning towards, hey, Minnesota looks like the team that's going to come out, sure, have a good opportunity. Now, before I get into third player, I'm going to save that for Irshad to do his analysis on the third player. I'm just going to let you know, revenge games are the best game in football.
They are.
No matter that you throw the stats out the window, you have that one player, and especially as a quarterback, that person's mindset. So Kirk Cousins' mindset is coming, hey, listen, Minnesota, we had a good run, but I'm coming here to show out. You guys let me go. I walked away for a reason because I am a better quarterback, and I went to a better team. I am taking the Atlanta Falcons +6 to cover, and surprisingly, Kirk Cousins could come out with the win here.
You know what? I wouldn't even be surprised, because one more thing I want to add. Sam Darnold, the Vikings quarterback.
Yeah.
In his career, Darnold, as a favorite, so Darnold has closed as a favorite or higher 9 times, okay? When doing so, he is just 4-8-1 against the spread in those games. Right? So he fails to cover by roughly about 5 points, which means, based on tomorrow's game, it could entail that Minnesota actually does win, but they won't cover.
So win by 1?
They win by 1. You got it, right? So there's definitely that level of, you have the revenge game. You have Darnold's underwhelming kind of showing. You have Kirk's overwhelming showing. Yeah. To be honest, there's also one more important player on the field.
Yes, tell him, Irshad.
That is Mr. Third Player that we can't forget. And tomorrow, Alex Kemp is reffing the game.
Yep.
Now, when he refs games in Alex Kemp's career, home teams are 47, 50, and 1 against the spread. So, technically skewing it a little bit more so to the away team. So that's great, because that's exactly what we're saying. I mean, when you factor everything that Allner just said, look at the floor, look at the ceiling of both teams, both quarterbacks, and then you look at the trend from Alex Kemp, he's definitely going to have a small inclination bias towards the away team actually covering the spread. One more thing I want to point out is you look at the total yardage per game. Mm-hmm. You have the Falcons actually coming out and scoring more total yards than the Vikings. That's right there. On the defensive side, they're 16 and 17, Vikings and Falcons. They're right there neck and neck when it comes to amount of yardage allowed. So their defense is both of the same caliber. And the offense, the Falcons are slightly better, which means that they could actually come out and make it a close game.
Yeah.
So 6 points, I think is a lot.
I think it'll be high scoring too.
I think it's gonna be high scoring, but I also think 6 points, that's a lot of that's a long spread for somebody to call.
Yeah.
All to say, Allner, I'm also calling the Falcons +6.
Let's go.
Locking that in.
Let's go. Falcons +6. We like Kirk Cousins' revenge game.
That's it.
He's going to come out of the tunnel and say, how you like that?
And that's that.
There you go.
Second game of the week we get into. Right into it. The Chargers and the Chiefs. Big game. You know, two calibers. The LA market.
Late night game?
That one is going to be a late night game for Sunday.
So let's back it up and pick another game so we have them in order.
Ooh, good call. Let's go back into the Buffalo and Rams. Other LA team. Apologies. So let's go Buffalo.
Yes.
And the Rams game. Let's do that. That's going to be the next window, which is the afternoon window of games. Buffalo here is favored by -3.5. So, I'll throw it to you again first. What is your take? What are you saying? Let the people know, man.
This is a big game. Buffalo came off a fun snowball game last week against San Francisco. Came on and played. The Rams also played a good game too last week. They kept it close. You know, they were right there in the thick of things, and they just pulled away late with their defense when they went on and they faced the New Orleans Saints. They won the game by 7, which is a much needed win. But let's not forget, this matchup has a lot of implications for a look-ahead game.
Yeah.
You have Buffalo here playing the Detroit Lions next week.
Yep.
Winner of that game is going to be solidified as who the MVP is going to be. So it's either Goff or Allen. But at the same time, too, it's going to be one of those two versus Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
So it's gonna narrow down the MVP race there. Are the Bills gonna not be 100% for this game? Are they gonna take it lightly on the Rams so they can be 100% versus the Lions next week? Or did he just give it their all and then, hey, what happens next week happens next week? But now let's not forget about the Rams, where they're only one game back in the division. And one game back in division is big because on the Thursday, on a short week, they are playing a divisional game.
Yep.
The team that they are ahead of, which are the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep.
So when you sit here and look at both those games, it gets really tough. Because you have Matthew Stafford, who plays really well in big games.
Yep.
But you also have Allen, who's just a beast when he plays football.
He's having a great season.
Like a really, really good season. But you know what? I'm going to go into Mr. Third Player here. We got Craig Warslad.
Yeah.
Craig Warslad is big. He's always a factor in games, but he's more of an even officiator. Let's put it that way. Why I say that? Because the home teams are 63 and 63 on the money line.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But against the spread is where everything changes.
Yeah.
51, 70, and 73 and 2 against the spread since 2016.
Yeah.
Now, if you are a home team that's an underdog,
which this is,
they are 20, 36, and 1.
Jeez. So nearly twice as likely for the away team to cover.
Correct. Even though you're a favorite, or if it's a dog, it's almost the same.
Yeah.
Warslide doesn't like home teams.
It doesn't like home teams. And
Buffalo's a team here who is on pace to trying to surpass Kansas City and also be second in the division.
Yep.
I also feel this game is going to play a lot of tricks and turns in the NFC West. To look ahead games with a lot of division games that's happening, I feel like this is the game the Rams can lose, because if they go beat San Fran next week, on a short rest, they have an opportunity to still sneak their way into the playoffs, hence also win the division too.
Yeah.
We know Buffalo's firepower. We know Buffalo is amazing. Like, you cannot stop Buffalo. Before I even make my pick here, Rashad, tell them what you feel about this game.
I mean, you mentioned a lot about like Craig Wolfstad, right? So like I think from his angle, he definitely not a fan of home teams generally against the spread. Money line's different, right?
Yes.
Spread for sure, he's not a fan. But home underdogs, he hates. Like he's not almost twice as likely to give it to the away team. So that's one big key element. But let's look at the Buffalo Bills as a team, right? So we remember last week they played. Mm-hmm. It was a snowy game.
Yeah.
Right? It was a snowy game back at home against the 49ers, right? It was very cold, Eastern Standard Time. Now, teams who travel from Eastern Standard Time to play a road game in Pacific Standard Time, which is in LA, are 84, 58, and 6 against the spread, which is nearly 60% since 2016. Now, in the last 2 seasons alone, it's 21, 12, and 1 in the last 2 seasons, okay? It's one of those where it's almost, I wouldn't say guaranteeing, but it's a very, very heavy inclination that the road team is going to make that happen, right? Now, since 2019, road favorites on a 3+ game winning streak, going from Eastern Standard Time to Pacific Standard Time, are 5-0-1 against the spread.
Yeah.
They have not lost a game against the spread when making that trip since 2019.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what the Bills fall under. So this is something that I would otherwise look to the Bills kind of taking over, all right? There's also Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, that guy is a big enough point as it is. He's having a record, I would say arguably a record game or record season. Now, when he plays teams under 500, now the Rams are 500 on the dot. Since 2020, Josh Allen is 29-4 straight up. 29-4
straight up.
Nearly 7 times likely to win the game.
Yep.
And not only win, but win by nearly 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
So the fact of the matter is that tomorrow's game, the spread is only 3.5. I'm surprised. Only 3.5?
Yeah, they know something we don't know, but
I mean, it's definitely, I mean, I get it. I get it because the Rams, faithful in LA, it definitely changes that dynamic, right? When McVay and Stafford have, played together, they are 28-9 straight up when listed as favorites, but only 6-15 as underdogs straight up. So not only are they inclined to lose, but we don't know what the spread situation is, but definitely almost twice as likely to lose the game.
Yeah.
Now at 3.5, for it to lose, I mean, that could come down as a field goal or 2.
For sure.
Right? So all to say, with the third player on the field, with the overwhelming success of Josh Allen, with the underwhelming success of Stafford and McVay, I'm inclined to take Bills minus 3.5.
Yeah.
That's my take. Alner, what's your final call on this game?
Like I said, earlier too, this is the game the Rams could lose. This is the game where Buffalo's going to go out and show, hey, listen, we are part of a Super Bowl contending team. Even though we lost a whole bunch of role pieces, a lot of leadership on this team.
Yep.
But we are a unit that is Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride Buffalo minus 3.5.
Yeah.
It just makes more sense. It looks that way, especially with the later game happening between Kansas City and the Chargers.
Yep.
If it's a division game, if the Chargers somehow sneak a win, Buffalo has an opportunity to take that first seed.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna press the brakes. Their foot's gonna be on that gas pedal until the final week, where they're solid and set in stone on what position they are, which looks like number 2.
Yep.
But hey, they want to get higher than 2, which is 1. So I'm gonna rock with you, my brother, on this. Buffalo minus 3.5. Let's go get it.
Lock it in. That's game 2, second window, which leads us to our game 3.
Yes.
Late night, primetime, Sunday night game, which is what I mentioned earlier, prematurely, the LA Chargers, the other LA team,
yes,
against the Kansas City Chiefs, where Kansas City here is favored by minus 4. So let's get into that game. Another big game, due in part because obviously you have the very, very hot Kansas City Chiefs,
yes,
playing a divisional game at home against the second place team, So if that's the case, -4 for Patrick Mahomes almost seems too low, maybe. But let's get into it. So, let me throw it to you first. What are you thinking with this -4 spread? Kansas City, what do you think?
Let's get right into it. We know Kansas City has been struggling to cover the spread. In the past 6 weeks, they have not covered the spread, whatever their spread is. Favorites, dogs, they were that dog against Buffalo, didn't cover. Even favorites, even last week, even the game they had on Friday, right before the Black Friday, it was 13.5 or whatever it was they were favored by. Couldn't even cover the spread. Almost even lost the game, too.
Yeah.
But now you're going against this Chargers team, who are banged up a little bit. Yes, they came off a win last week. A squeaky win that they came out with. It wasn't a pretty win. But, they came on, they played football against the Atlanta Falcons.
Yep.
It was back and forth, a lot of field goals in that game, which part of our parlay was. But, yeah, they're in L.A., they were in Atlanta, and now they're traveling to Kansas City. L.A., we know, is a warmer team.
Yep.
Kansas City is going to be cold. I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to play in the cold. And with everybody sitting here saying Patty Mahomes is not the Patty Mahomes we've seen in the past, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs are not the same team as in the past. They're a team that cannot cover the spread. The spread is 4 here. Aside from everything else, you got the second GOAT, I guess, NFL after Brady, Patrick Mahomes, who's making a big scene for himself, a big name for himself. I don't see Kansas City not covering the spread. I see them showing off to all the haters and everybody else saying, hey, they can't cover the spread. That, hey, listen, can cover the spread. We are still Super Bowl contender teams. We want that first place. We want home field advantage all the way through. Aside from stats, aside from Mr. Third Player that Irshad is going to get to and let you guys know. But once again, you cannot bet against Patty Mahomes. Patty Mahomes is a guy where he just can't cover the spread. And even though they have extended rest, aside from everything else, I feel this is the game where Kansas City shows out. They're going to come out and they're going to win by 7 points. I'm taking Kansas City -4.
I'm taking -4. Man. Oh, man. Obviously, for some of our AIM squad who's rolling with us from day one, you guys know my plight against Patty Mahomes. All right? Somehow I'll bet for him. He'll somehow win. I'll lose. I'll bet against him. He'll win. I'll lose. But this one is an interesting one. Okay? Obviously, when it comes to Mahomes, we know that this year Mahomes obviously is having a good year. For the team that he has, he's having a good year, okay? He's 3-1 against the spread in night games.
Yes.
Okay? In his career, is 27, 19-1. So definitely, on the more positive side, okay? But here's what's interesting. Herbert's an underdog tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay? So that's a proven fact, okay? He's an underdog. Now, as an underdog of more than 3 points, which is the case tomorrow, Herbert is 10-2-1 against the spread, including 6-1-1 against opponents in the AFC West, which is the case tomorrow.
Yes.
So that is nearly 5 times more likely to cover the spread, okay? Now, his night game situation is a little interesting, okay? So he has made 20 starts at night. Okay. Generally, he is 11-9 against the spread, but 5-9 against the spread when he's either a favorite or an underdog of 3 points or less. However, he is 6-0 against the spread as an underdog of 3.5 or more, which is once again the case tomorrow. Okay? So there is definitely that essence of it as well. Okay? Mahomes lately, it's been interesting, right? Because Mahomes obviously has been in the league for a few years now. When he's played in his career against the Chargers, Patrick Mahomes is 4-5-2. So actually below 500 against the spread in his career against the Chargers. And that includes 2-4-1 against the spread against Herbert. Okay? Now, he wins games. I'll say he's 6-1 against the Chargers. 6-1.
Yep.
He wins games. He doesn't cover them. Now, to add one more factor into this game, which is Mr. Third Player himself, it is Bill Vinovich tomorrow. True home teams, which in this case are the Chiefs, are just 42, 54, and 4 against the spread since 2018. But let's take a little bit closer. in 2023, so last season, home teams were just 5-10-2 against the spread. So almost twice as likely not to cover. So I know, Ulner, you and I were kind of talking about it before we started our show here about, what we're thinking. I may have to pull a wild one.
Go for it.
I may have to pull a wild one, and I may have to roll. I'm sorry, Patty. Please, I think you're the only person in the world that I hope you're not listening to our podcast, because I'm going to have to bet against you.
Ooh.
I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay.
+4.
All right.
Tomorrow, because one more thing. You're right. LA is a warmer place to play.
Correct.
Right? We know this. Okay? Now, they played last week in Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay? Indoor, and they're coming off a win.
Correct.
They're going to go outdoor in Kansas City.
Yes.
Luckily, though, tomorrow's weather isn't that bad.
Ooh.
Okay? It isn't that bad. For the Canadian listeners,
Yes.
it's going to be essentially a high of 15 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
For our American listeners, that's going to actually come to roughly, give or take, it's going to be about 59 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
All right? So it's not the end of the world.
Yes, correct.
Right? It is relatively manageable. And I think in that manageability, you're going to factor in Mr. Third Player.
Yes.
You're going to factor in the trends of both Herbert as well as Mahomes. And then you're going to also factor in just the offensive and defensive caliber. Right? The defenses of both teams are more or less top 10. Chargers actually give up the least amount of points in the league.
I don't think they've given up more. I think they've given up the least points. I think they haven't even given up 200 points this season.
Yeah. I mean, they're average only 15.7 games.
Yeah.
Points per game.
Yeah.
Sorry. And so with that, second and third down percentage, top 10 in passing yards, top 15 in rushing yards and total yardage. Not going to say like Kansas City defense is not bad.
No.
But I think also when you look at it, it's not that far off, right? So when you look at it generally, I think KC's going to have their work cut out for them. I think -4 is something that, based on some of the games we've seen this year, questionable officiating.
Yes.
I think KC may come off with the win because, A, it's Patty Mahomes.
Yep.
But, Magic Patty, but I think it's going to be a close game. I'm calling Chargers +4.
Hey, like I said right before we started this game, I said there's people like you out there, Shad, who believe that, Kansas City and Patty Mahomes cannot cover the spread. They just cannot. On extended rest, Andy Reid is 51, 39-1 against the spread.
Damn.
While Patrick Mahomes, yes, is 19, 17-1, but I think this is the Andy Reid show. Off extended rest, he's going to come with some plays. But you know what? Let's just not get into it further.
Yeah.
Let's just watch the football game tomorrow and find out what happens.
There you go.
But yes, there's always one we're going to battle out, and it's fun. It's going to be a division game on Sunday night, primetime game. I'm going to be rooting for Kansas City, Patty Mahomes -4. While you're going to be scared, Irshad, to be like, damn, with Patty Mahomes.
I'm not going to I'm going to be scared the entire game. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know why I did this to myself.
But hey,
it'd be fun. But I think this is what's going to happen.
Yes, correct.
So if you're riding with me, you're going Chargers +4. If you're riding with Ulner, it's Kansas City -4. Lock it in. Sunday night, prime time. You can't miss that game. It's a divisional game.
There you
Big
go.
game. So that wraps up our Game of the Week segment.
Yes.
On we go to our prop betting. We have anytime touchdown first. Ulner, who do we have?
Who do you have scoring a touchdown? Let's just see here. We got Mr. James Cook.
That's it.
We got James Cook from the Buffalo Bills playing the Rams.
Yep.
The Rams defense, yes, is mediocre, but you're still able to run the football against them. And you're able to chop it up, especially with the Buffalo team here, who has a quarterback who has legs.
Yeah.
Do you press and spy on Allen? Or do you double Cook? What do you do here? And let's not forget, Cook can catch the football.
Oh, you can.
He can catch the football on a little slip screen or a little wide receiver. I mean, a running back wheel, come on the top, catch a pass, boom, he's gone. So, yes, James Cook, 1.7 times your unit. Lock it in because he's finding the dirt. He's finding the paint. He's scoring a touchdown tomorrow.
And there you go. You lock that in. Anytime touchdown, James Cook, Buffalo Bills. We just gets to our 3-leg parlay. First leg, let's get right into it, is the KC game we just spoke about.
Yeah.
We're thinking high scoring, over 2.5 field goals. It's going to be an outdoor game. They're going to capitalize wherever they can. You got to lock that in. Second leg, hot hand, Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Anytime touchdown.
There we go.
Simple as that. We know, slithery Saquon, he's been crazy all year.
MVP.
I mean, definitely.
He wants that MVP.
He wants MVP. And he's still a team player about it.
Yeah.
And then our last leg for it,
there you go,
for the Atlanta-Minnesota game, is both teams to score 15 or more points. You put all three of those legs together, you're looking at a good 3.2 times your unit.
There you go.
So lock that in. KC over 2.5 field goals, Saquon anytime TD, both teams in the Atlanta and Minnesota game to score 15 or more points, 3.21. You can lay that, you can parlay them, you can put them straight, but definitely lock it in because those look good.
There we go.
What do we have for our daily lineup fantasy?
Daily lineup fantasy again. We're riding high with the Buffalo Bills here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get it out of the way. We got Josh Allen as quarterback.
Yep.
If James Cook doesn't find his trending bet, or Josh Allen would run to the 1 yard line, James Cook is going in, or Josh Allen is doing a squeak or sneak in there, or he's also throwing the football to James Cook to get into the end zone. So we have Josh Allen as our quarterback. Running backs, again, we got Mr. MVP, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is going to have a big game. Like, really, really big game against the Carolina Panthers, who just are deployed, don't know their identity yet. They're playing some good football, but we like Saquon. And then we got Kamara. We got Kamara from New Orleans, who's facing the Giants.
Yep.
The Giants, again, want that number 1 pick. They might take Saunders' first pick. That's what they're talking about. We don't know yet. But yes, Kamara's also going to find the end zone. He's going to have a big game. Going to help the New Orleans come with the W. Irshad, let them know our wide receivers and so forth.
I mean, we got 2 wide receivers, 2 big hot hands. One of the guys comes from Minnesota, Atlanta game. Justin Jefferson, back home.
Yeah.
I mean, JJ, back home, indoor arena. We think Minnesota's he's gonna find the paint. And then we have Jamar Chase, Monday night, primetime, Cincinnati Bengals. It's gonna be a locked and loaded. We wouldn't be surprised if he pulls out a touchdown or 2. And then tight end. Unfortunately, we know the plight of the San Francisco 49ers. C-Mac is out for the season. They're coming back after a very, very cold game, but they're headed back home this time. Kittle's going to come out big. So lock in tight end. You got Kittle.
Yes.
And then we have our defense, and we're picking the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Locking that in for the Eagles. And then lastly, we have the kicker, Mr. Chad Ryland.
There we go.
That is it. That is locking in our daily fantasy. So let's do a quick wrap-up here. 3 games. I'll start with the game of the weeks. We have Atlanta, Minnesota.
Yes.
We're both rolling Atlanta +6.
There we go.
We then have Buffalo and the Rams game. We're both rolling Buffalo -3.5.
Yes.
Then Sunday night, prime time, we're going Chargers and KC. Owner's calling KC -4.
Yep.
I'm calling LA +4.
There we go. Then we got James Cook, find the end zone, anytime TD. 3-leg parlay. We got Saquon, anytime touchdown. We got the Atlanta Falcons, Minnesota, both to score 15 points. And that last game where me and my brother are going to be watching with our eyes wide open, we have the Kansas City and the LA Chargers over 2.5 field goals made combined. Irshad, tell them our fantasy. But before, 3.21 times your unit for the parlay. Lock that in. Fantasy time, Irshad.
Let's go. We got Josh Allen. We got Saquon. We have Kamara, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Kittle, Eagles defense, and Chad Ryland is our kicker. Lock that in. That is week 14 football here at AIM Sports.
Yes.
Want to thank you all for following, subscribing, listening to us. Hopefully you guys are tailing. Hopefully you guys are eating.
Yes.
And
or you're feeding us too, either way. As long as you're making money.
As long as you're winning, man, that's all that matters.
That's all we're here for.
We just want to give you guys an extra little bit of insight.
There you go. To make a decision, either going left or right. But yes, AIM Sports Squad, myself, owner, and my brother Irshad here.
Yo.
We love you guys. Bet responsibly. Bet what you can afford. Get your popcorn and snacks ready, because don't forget, it's almost Christmas time. It's the happiest time of the season.
Yep.
Let's go watch some football on Sunday.
Let's bring some magic here.
Let's do it. But yes, from AIM Sports to all the AIM Squad and all the AIM Squad listeners, we love you guys, and we out. Peace.